See okay? And can everybody hear me clearly? Perfect. Okay. All right then. So Mary, you can press record. Looks like it's recording. Okay. So welcome everyone to our workshop on getting grant money, how to prepare a winning application. We had we did one workshop actually at Sunnyside and went over really well. And we figured this time, given the opportunity to apply for a lot of funding and grants in our province now, including New Horizons for Seniors, which is a federal grant, we thought that maybe some groups might be interested in getting a little bit more information so that they can have something really that they'll always have that they can put in their application. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so getting grant money, how to prepare a winning application. So the objectives for this workshop is for you to have a completed outline of the essence of your group or club. Who you are, what you do, why you do it, and to really show your passion. And to also have a completed outline of basic information on what you need to include in a funding application. The beauty of a lot of funding applications, it has the very same elements for the most part. It'll ask you for a budget. It'll ask you, why do you want to apply for money? It'll ask you, does it fit in some of their priorities of which they will fund you for. So that's the nice thing. The applications, on the other hand, can be vastly different. Some are very easy to fill out. Some might take a little bit more time. Some can be many pages. Some can only be a page. So those are the things that we got to keep in mind as we go forward filling out applications. Okay, so before you even apply for money, you have to have an idea. You know, our experience over the past number of years, Mary and I meeting with a lot of groups and clubs and going to the Federation Convention, all of you have such wonderful ideas and have done astounding things to involve and engage seniors in your community. And even with COVID now, there's still lots of opportunities to think of, you know, gosh, what can we do? And let's see if we can turn our idea into reality. And in order to do that, you actually have to have a plan. So, hey, let's do this. Well, how are we going to do this? And of course, then you have to execute your plan into action. So if you plan to do so many cooked meals, then you would say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do it during this time frame. If you say you're going to hand out flyers regarding information for seniors on mental health, well, that's your plan. How are you going to do it? This is what we're going to do. And really your action is your output. We are going to deliver them. We're going to print them. We're going to deliver them. And this is what we're going to do. Okay. So as part of your plan and action, you do have to answer these these are basic 6 questions, the who, what, when, where, and why of your idea. So why do we want to do it? How do we want to do it? Where are we going to do it? Who are we going to involve? When do we want to do it? And what is it that we want to achieve on our ideas or the plan that we want to do in our community? So the 5 W's, so like I said, the 5 W's represent the main points or basic information. You'll see that in your handout when we go through that. So each W represents an element of key information necessary for people to understand the picture of what you want to do. If we stick to those 6 key W's, you shouldn't go wrong. You couldn't go wrong. So it also keeps you focused. So you must answer all of the 5 W's clearly and concisely. You don't have to write paragraphs and paragraphs of information. You could whittle it down to 1 or 2 sentences. If you want to remember, a lot of the funding applications will probably ask you to limit your answers to maybe 200 words or 500 words. So that means you have to be very succinct and in how you answer your question in order to make sure that you get your picture to the funder. So there are 2 key points to remember. These are very, very, very important. First, well, you know everything about your club or your group. You've just, when we did our introductions, you guys say, you know, this is our group. We've been around for a long time. We've done so many things for our community. We have so many members. We're really eager to get get seniors involved and our peers involved in everything that we do. So you really, really know it. However, you are writing to someone who knows nothing about your group or your club. And sometimes that gets us in a bit of a, because we know it so well, we think that everybody else knows it. But we have to take it from this perspective. So if someone brand new that you've never met before walks into your community and they'll go, hey, what's this 50+ club all about? Well, you would tell them everything about it. And that's basically when you're writing an application, this is what you're going to do. You want to make sure that they know exactly who you are and what you do, why you do it, and why you want to do what you want to do. That's in line with your club. I think we have 2 people in chat right now. Oh, glad you could make it. Okay. All right then. Oop, like my thing froze. Oh, there we go. Oh.
Kelly?
Yes.
Excuse me for interrupting, but we just had someone else join us.
Yes.
Lorna Warford. Lorna is from Irish Town, Mountain View, and they were having power outages. So I'm hoping she can hear us anyway.
Lovely. Excellent. Welcome, Lorna. We will have this on YouTube, so you've only missed a small portion of the presentation, so you're okay. All right. So now that we know that we need to let people know who we are and what we do, and that we need to think about our idea instead of plan, these are some other key pieces for your success. You want to bring together a few people to go through the 5 W's and the how. Okay, you can't do it alone. It's always nice to bring together some of your members from your club to kind of hash out some ideas. And like we say, many hands make light work. And you can even divvy up certain sections of the applications to say, well, why don't you work on this part and I'll work on this part, so that you actually have a little plan on how to actually fill out the application. So you want to be realistic. Do only what you can do. It's not about quantity, but the quality of what you do. Don't be too lofty and say, we're going to do presentations every week for 52 weeks. Well, you could set and it might be a grand idea, but if you want to think the logistics of that, of who's going to do all 52, how many topics are you going to do? How difficult would it be to get that off the ground? So you want to think and be realistic. And I think most grant applications will see that and understand that it is about quality opportunity to share information, share a meal, share some learning experiences. that you will be able to do. And if you set yourself to say, we're going to do 10 information sessions in the year, and you happen to do 15, well, you've exceeded what you thought you could do. But don't say you're going to do 30 or 40 and then find out you could only do 10. So be realistic. It's better to underestimate that kind of thing as opposed to overestimating. But again, talk to your group and see what they feel is reasonable for your group and for your volunteers. So of course, you need a clear plan of what you want to do. And I suggest you do it in point form. You don't need to write a full paragraph on it. Put it in point form. We're going to do a session. We're going to check and see how many people, what kind of topics people want to talk about, or we're going to cook some meals. And when do we want to do those meals? We want to do them at maybe special occasions, or we want to do something to celebrate a number of seniors who have birthdays during the year. So we're just going to have a birthday bash for everyone in the community, those kinds of things. Or we need to replace equipment in our club. So we need to replace the fridge. We need to replace the flooring. We need to make our front door accessible and our bathroom accessible. So those are point forms for you to do, rather than get into more dig deeper, because then that means it's easier for you to stick to just small sentence forms. You do not need to use fancy words. Tell it like it is. Sometimes people say we need to reword this, so when people who are reading it would probably, want to see us flower up our narrative or our plan. Just be plain. Plain Jane is fine. I think plain language is probably best, because there's no chance of misunderstanding what it is that you want to do. So just use your everyday language when you're talking to somebody and you're saying, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a great scoff. You might have to actually explain what a scoff is, but you know what I mean when you say a dinner. Also, you need to read and reread at least 3 times before you submit and include everything they ask for. Sometimes you might have missed something that you forgot to put in. You might not have calculated your in-kind donations correctly, or what you're going to ask for correctly. And so you want to reread it, and it wouldn't hurt having a couple of eyes on that to reread it, because sometimes we tend to read it and miss it. And Mary and I could tell you a number of times where we missed that. And also include everything they ask for, so that if they ask for your list of your executive, and they ask for quotes, and they ask for if you're incorporated, any information on your incorporation you need, as well as letters of support, you want to include it all. Because oftentimes they will say that if you don't include it, you could be excluded from the application. And they'll say that because you did not submit everything, we can't include you. Okay, so let's break out our worksheet. We're going to look at the basic information about your group. I hope everybody has that there. And certainly feel free to write things down, okay? And you can certainly finesse it later. Okay, so the first question is, who are you, right? So you want to name, we are this club, how long you've been around, exactly what you said when you introduced yourself, how many members you have, how many volunteers you have. And if that includes everyone in your group, we'll put everyone in your group. But your executive are volunteers, people who run maybe meals, who come and do meals for you, who are they're volunteers. If you have other club members who come in and clean, or comes in and prints information and shares information, they're all volunteers. And if you have any outside people who support your club and come in and volunteer to present to you, well, you know, you can kind of include them, that we have some community partners as well. So let's just say your wellness coalition or your primary care center, or a nurse practitioner comes in regularly to talk about health and well-being. While it's their job, you can see that they are particular partners. So you want to keep it to 1 or 2 sentences. You don't need to get lavish in anything. This is the name of our club. This is how long we've been around. These are how many members we have. And these are how many, on average, how many volunteers we utilize probably during the year. Okay. So the next question is, what is the main thing you do? So you've said this is who we are. We're a 50+ club. We've been around 28 years. We have 125 members, of which 40 are strong volunteers for us to do a lot of the things that we do. But what is it that you do? More than likely, and again, keep it to a couple of sentences, is for the most part, you're probably in your community because you want to engage and involve and keep seniors active in your community. You probably say, well, there was nothing, our community is very small, there's not a lot of opportunity for activities for seniors, and that's how we became a club, because we felt it was important for us to have a place for seniors to get together, to do a lot of social things, to reduce isolation, and to ensure that seniors are able to stay active in our community. That could be one of your main reasons. And most oftentimes, this main thing is what will drive you to apply for funding, and you'll see that what you do actually fits in with the funding that you're going to apply for. And you'll see as we go through this little worksheet, everything is broken down into pieces, which if you could take all of it and put it together when someone says, tell us a bit about your club and what you do and why you do it, and you can put it all in the one section in a grant application. The next one is, where do you do what you do? So where, yes, you're in one community, okay? So you're in Port Rexton, all right? Now, do you involve and engage seniors in other communities? Or is it just in Port Rexton? Is it just in Fogo? Or Fogo, your club, does it involve other areas from Fogo Island? Because that's nice. If you don't, fine. If you do, you want to include them all. Include all your groups. Does anybody have any questions so far? Am I moving too fast? You're good? Okay. Okay, so when do you do what you do? So some of you mentioned we meet 3 times a week, we meet twice a week, and then we have special things. So if you meet on a regular basis, you'd say, our main members, we meet twice a week. We have an executive meeting once a month. You want to include that as well, because that shows that you're providing good governance, that you're overseeing how things are going in your club. Most oftentimes your executive will talk about money, whether or not you're going to apply for grants, whether or not you've got enough money to do the things you want to do, or to even prioritize some of the things you want to do, because I'm sure all of you want to do a whole pile of things, but money can restrict you, time can restrict you, your volunteers, if you don't have enough volunteers, that can restrict you too. But just outline your basics of what you currently do now. Okay, so next question is, why do you do what you do? Now that's different than what is the main thing. Why actually probably could have been brought up to number 2 first and then 1. But why is it? So you basically, it's why did you come into being? So you're in, let me see now, who is the lady? Is it Elaine Mary from, where they only just started their club, Mary?
I'm here.
Oh, Elaine, yes, Elaine. So Elaine, why don't you tell us why you guys wanted to start a club? You need to unmute, Elaine. Thanks.
Are you asking me this question?
I'm asking Elaine the question.
Oh, Elaine, thank you.
Yes, I live in an area where they haven't had a club. There's about 6 communities with lots of seniors, and there's really not much for them to do. There's bingo at the Lions Club, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I thought I became a member of the Hillview Club, which is about a half hour from here. And I thought I'd really like to start something in my area where we can include so many seniors, you know, because they're not going to drive to Hillview. They're a lot of older people. They're not going on the roads in the winter and at night and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been spending winters in Florida. And this winter we don't get to go. And it was a perfect time for me to start it, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much I know we can do. It's unreal, all the ideas I know we have that we can do, and we just wait for COVID to be over to get it all started.
Yeah. Oh, good. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Elaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're using, we were really glad that the Lions Club came on board with us. So we're using the Lions Club, and we're going to partner with them too.
Oh, good. Excellent. Okay. All right, you can mute Elaine. So there you go. Why? You're driven to start something. This also shows your passion and the need to be able to connect and the need to have people connect, to keep people socially connected. And as Elaine said, you know, if you're doing something close to home, it is because you see the need, that you don't want people to go too far if they have transportation issues. So you are really addressing a need that is in your community. And this answering this why really shows your funder that you're addressing a need. Okay. Okay, so the 5 W's and how. So now you have your basics that you can use in any grant or funding application, okay? You keep it to a couple of sentences or a couple of points. That's all you need. And now you can use the 5 W's plus 1 more to apply for money. So this process will take some time, but if you stick to focusing on each element, one at a time, you will get the information you need to put in any application. Oftentimes, there are notifications for that grant applications are open and people can apply, and then there's a deadline. For the most part, people are given ample time in order to do that, and I know Mary tries to send out as much information on this as soon as we get it. And sometimes there is the deadline, and sometimes they would call them what are ongoing accepting of applications until the funds run out. So that's almost like a first come, first serve type of thing. That one is where you'd have to work pretty quickly. But if you have the information in front of you and you have a couple of ideas that you've kind of jotted down, and you fill out your worksheets, at any given time, you should have no trouble turning an application submission pretty quickly. So it's important to keep in mind, now that you got this information and all of a sudden you've got notification, there's something you can apply for, and you guys got a great idea, and we want to set up our plan and our action to do it, these are some things to keep in mind. You cannot turn your plan into a reality without the help of others, okay? As you know, all of your clubs, you rely a lot on your volunteers to make sure that meals are cooked, or information is printed out, or the bingo cards are set out, and everything is all arranged, and all special events are done. So you need to know that even filling out an application, you need help. So working as a team makes the process easier, and people can be assigned sections. So if you want to look at the application carefully and say, well, there are 3 or 4 sections on that. So why don't we come together as a group, have a chat about it, see who would be able to take a section and fill it out based on the information we have and other information that you'll need as we go through the workshop. And then we can come together as a team again and assemble our application and double check that we haven't forgotten anything. So now we're going to move on to our second worksheet, which is basic information for your grant application. Over the years, we've applied for funding for Seniors NL, and Mary in her previous jobs, as well as mine, we've been pretty much applied for a lot of things over the years. So some of these things here are pretty much, standards in any grant application. So when you fill this out, then you'll have some very basic stuff, and then you will certainly be able to plunk this in any application. Okay, so the first thing that we want to look at is, well, what do you want to do? And this is your idea, okay? So this is your idea, and keep it to 1 or 2 things. Ideally, like the more you do, the more volunteers you will need, the more activities you will need to do. And again, if you go back to what I said earlier, you need to be realistic in what you want to do. Don't be too lofty that you feel you want to set yourself up for success, okay? And then, does it fit with what the funder will fund? Now, when we finish this work thing, we're going to go through a couple of funding opportunities that will we'll go through that, and you'll see what some of their priorities are. And some of you who have applied for funding will know that's what you look at when you look at their application, and they'll say, these are our priorities, your idea or your plan or what you want to do has to fit under these priorities. So often it could be seniors isolation, it could be capital investment, which means fixing up your club, it could be about elder abuse or learning opportunities in relation to healthy aging. I'm just throwing out some ideas. So that's really, really important. So if you guys have an idea now, you can write it down. If you say, we want to hand out Christmas even though I don't know if you'd get funding for this for the season because the time might be, but you might say, we want to reach out and provide transportation or something like that. If you have an idea now, you can write it down. If not, then you can always go back to it. But I'm sure all of you have thought of something, especially during COVID, that you said, if only we had a little bit of funds, I'm sure we would be able to do this. Maybe it's just a quick outreach and a connection via the phone, or printing information for seniors on how to be safe, to make sure that they know information about scams, because when you're isolated, that, you know, the chances of that can happen. Maybe you want to cook some meals and engage. And maybe you're able to open up your club now with just a small amount of people. You might want to do that. Or thinking into the summer, when you might have the opportunity to go outside, that you might want to do some trail adventure or do something in your park or in your local recreation area. Any questions? Okay, so the next one is, well, yeah, we'd like to do that, but why do you want to do it? Okay, is there a need to do it? And just because you're a seniors group or club is not a good enough reason. So you know why you are in your community. You're in your community in order to have seniors connect with other seniors and to be involved and engaged. Okay, so why do you want to do this particular thing that you'd like to do now? And is there a need? So if you're talking about social isolation, yeah, there is indeed a need. People are keeping their distance. People are not getting out as much. We need to be able to connect. It is very, very important for seniors' mental health that we do this. Okay? And what do you need to do it? So if you're cooking meals, well, you need food. If you are going to offer information sessions, then you would need perhaps some printing costs. You might need a laptop if you don't have a laptop. You might need, for example, money to pay your volunteers for gas if they're doing outreach or if they're delivering things. So you want to itemize everything that you need in order to do it. You don't have to worry about putting a cost on it yet. You just need to list everything that you need. So why don't we talk about need? So if we were in person, I would ask people to list out some of the things on what are some of the things that would certainly be in line, for the most part, for most funders right now, especially during this time, but even into the future, when hopefully this time next year we'll be in a much better situation. But we find that a lot of the issues that that you guys want to address haven't really changed. They've just been magnified. So these are the things that that I'm going to list here, that if there's something that you have in terms of what you think you want to do, you can certainly raise your hand and then you can unmute and provide an answer. So let's talk about the need. Well, we certainly talked about to reduce loneliness. Loneliness is really hard, especially now, and in relation to isolation. Now, people can be alone and not lonely, and people can be very lonely but not alone. And oftentimes loneliness is something people don't really talk about, and very hard to identify. So what you do is you just address the opportunity to involve and engage people. You might also want to increase your membership. So you're a brand new club, or some of your members have moved away or unfortunately passed away, but you want to reach out to your community in order to increase your membership. You might want to increase physical activity. That could be an indoor activity, an outdoor activity. It could be partnering with a local yoga instructor or a local phys ed teacher. If that's the only, in high school they have a physical, a teacher who might be able to offer this kind of opportunity. You might want to do some learning topics like healthy living, information on chronic disease, elder abuse, container gardening, yoga, you name it. And this is where you can go out to your members and say, hey, what kind of topics would you like to learn about? Just like when Mary reached out to the groups and said, what kind of topics would you like us to address when we do our outreach and when we start arranging some of our webinars into the new year. This one is particularly really good, is bringing seniors and young people together. Intergenerational is favored among many funders. They like to see intergenerational connections that really are community connections. And it builds up respect, mutual respect, and mutual learning across the generations, really. So if you wanted to have younger people help seniors with how to set up their iPad, how to, FaceTime people, how to download and print documents or upload documents, you name it, young people have a lot of tech savvy and are only too happy to help. So this is something that, you probably have already had that in your mind, and you may have already done a bunch of those things. But I would strongly encourage you to continue. So do you think there are any other needs that have not been listed? Sadie? Or Elizabeth, anyone? Lorraine? Sadie?
I think you've done a lot of good things and things that I can recognize that I've got in an application that I've just submitted. So I feel really good about this, and I'm hoping that others will get really good information and help from you.
Good.
It's an excellent presentation. You're really doing well. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any other ideas of a need in your community? No, don't want to put anybody on the spot. Okay, so we can also talk about some of the things you need because you have it's broken or worn out. So your equipment, your appliances, technology. I think every application will ask you to put a quote. You need a quote or quotes. Most funding applications won't ask you to go out and find 3 quotes and submit 3 quotes. If you have a local builder that'll say, can you ask me how much would it cost to put a ramp on our club? Or how much would it cost to give us a new stove and a new microwave and a coffee pot? They'll give you a quote, and then that's what you would submit. This is how much it's going to cost us to put a ramp in. This is how much it's going to cost to get these appliances, okay? So like I said, you need to make your space accessible. So a ramp, a wider door, accessible washroom, etc. And quotes are needed for that as well. Okay, continuing on our workshop here. So where are you going to do it? Now, for the most part, you're probably going to say in our club. We're going to do it in our club. But if you're going to do something a little bit more, say for example, you decide to partner with a local a neighboring 50+ club, which I would highly encourage. Because if the 2 of you did, did their own application and say we're going to partner together so that we can do much more with the money that we're going to get, then you would you could say we're going to do it in numerous places. We're going to do it in our club. We're going to do it in our community. You may want, some of you also have gotten funding, not you guys in particular, but other groups have received money so that they could do outings to, say, Corner Brook, to go to the libraries and the museums, or somebody coming into town, or to spend time up at Woody Point, all of those different things. So if you're going outside of your community, that's where you need to put in where you're going. And of course, when are you going? Yes, Elizabeth?
Yeah, talking about the transportation aspect. I know New Horizons have 2 funding opportunities per year.
Yeah.
And one is for, well, the way we see it is, one is for like doing things, and the other thing is for more for buying things. So where we're on Fogle Island, for us to go even to the convention is very expensive. And one year we did actually raise money and have a bus, but it's, you know, it's just proving very expensive as the years go by. Would either one of the funding opportunities fund us for a bus and or accommodation to take our members to the convention?
You'd have to look at their application form on what's eligible and what's not eligible. Some funders will say that conferences, attendance at conferences are not included, but if it's not in the, if they don't actually list that, yes, you can apply for it.
So has money been given in the past to clubs that have asked for transportation?
Some funders will fund that, yeah. Especially if you argue the case of the need. This is important for us to strengthen our club, that we need to reach out to other clubs. The convention gives us an opportunity to learn so much that we bring back to our club. So it's again how you spin your story, that, you know, because the convention, I think all of you have gone, the convention, there's so much information you get. There's so many presentations. You're armed with a whole pile of things that when you go back to your club, you can say, look what we learned, look what we brought back. And look what we can do. Exactly. So it's how you say this, it's not, yes, it's an opportunity to connect, but it's also an opportunity to bring stuff back to our club. So it does tick a lot of boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so, and when are you going to do it? Obviously, it usually would be within a year. So most applications will ask you that you have to, it has to be done within the year. It doesn't have to take a whole year. For example, if you're applying to get things accessible, you could still give yourself a year, but if you finish in 6 months, well, you finish in 6 months. But if you're planning out a series of different things, then you could, you know, space out what you want to do so that you can say, we're going to do one big learning experience every month for the next 12 months, or we're going to have 4 separate dinners. We're having them this time, and this time. The only thing is, anything outside of that year, they will not fund. So, for example, the 50 Plus Club, if you're looking for something for next September or in September 2022, then they won't fund that. You'll have to find, you'll have to wait and apply so that it fits within the year time frame. Okay. This one we're going to spend a little time on because this is really important. Again, I always bring it back to, you don't need to do this alone. You need to pull people together. And in order for your plan to work out beautifully, this is where you do need to involve and engage people in your community, okay? So partners and volunteers and who is going to participate, okay? So that's almost like a two-parter. So if you look at your worksheet, we have an A and a B. So A is you need partners. You do need partners to give to your program or project. And I'm sure all of you have been brilliant in partnering with a lot of people in your community and a lot of groups in your community. That will certainly help you out. So you need to list what they will give and the dollar amount it would be. And that would go in your budget, because you want to show that, look at all the people that are partnering and the time and the in-kind that they're giving to our project. And that, like I said, it can be in-kind, it can be cash, and it can be both. And what I've always said is sometimes the most unlikeliest partner can be an astounding contributor to your project. So like I always said, you know, you can pull a string in a community and everybody comes. So if you're thinking about, for example, intergenerational activities, well, you would say, well, why don't we go and talk to the principal and say, look, we got a fabulous idea here. What do you think? And they're like, that sounds like a really grand idea. So what do you need? Well, you guys have computers and you have students. Is it possible for us to arrange opportunities for seniors to come in after school and take avail of your computer lab? And if they say yes, well, you can say, well, so they're offering technology and time. They can give you an estimate of what it is in terms of technology, computer usage. And then, of course, if you have 5 or 6 students that are giving 1 or 2 hours at a time, you can put a dollar figure on that, and we'll talk about that later. And you can also talk about your own volunteers in your club. Okay, maybe you have some people who are retired teachers, retired bankers, people who've been volunteering all their life and know it inside out, and know a lot of people that are connected. You might have members who are really tech savvy that would be able to offer opportunities. Maybe you have a retired nurse that would be only too happy to present on healthy aging and connect with other nurses in their community to provide information. So you can seek out that will match with what it is that you want to do. Okay, so again, this is, like I said, they're very important, and you want to list your partners. Now, you don't have to have tons of partners. If you feel one partner is the most important that we need right now, then one partner is fine. You don't want, again, you don't want to stretch yourself. You want to be able to set yourself up for success for your project when you get your funding to do this. Okay. So like I said, they'll help you with your program and project, and they can provide in-kind donation. So you want to know ask them for, well, how much would this cost? And so like I said, this is a cost you can add to your budget, and you can include the actual cost of the product. Okay, so if you're going to cook some Jig's dinner or scoff, and a local grocery store gives you $300 in vegetables, then it's $300. Also, person time. If you have someone who is willing to present to you, you can guesstimate, or you could ask them, well, how much would it cost for you to present, so that we could put that in terms of in-kind cost. And most partners will put a dollar amount on their contribution for you. And if you need a letter, they can put that in their letter. Okay, so if you secure some partners, it would be nice to ask them, would you mind giving us a letter of support? Because most applications will ask for a letter of support. So
Me again, sorry.
Yes,
In the past, like I said, we've had a few applications go into various places, and the in-kind thing was always a bit of a block for us. We'd get people volunteering their time and giving us groceries and stuff like that. And like what you say about the presenters, well, one of our present proposals involves local presenters.
Mm-hmm.
So would the letters of support, say we got 4 people that lined up, would we go to each one of those 4 people and say, can you just write us a letter of support saying that you are going to do this for us and it will cost blah, blah?
You
Is that what we do?
You can, if you like. I mean, the more letters, fine. If they only require 2, you can pick your 2 main supporters. So let's just say your
Okay.
your town council is going to proclaim June as Seniors Month, and they're going to offer the town hall, which is bigger than your club, to do all of these different things, and you can have a letter of support for that. You could even have your one of the partners who are presenting, let's just say on healthcare, and healthcare in your community, could do a letter saying, you know, we're pleased to support this because it's really important that you know, being involved in this community that I practice in, to present is an opportunity for us to inform, you know, the residents of Fogo, seniors in particular, the importance of getting a flu vaccination, the importance of seeing their doctor, and that would be a really lovely letter. They can put in that I'm willing to present my time, and you could ask them, well, you know, what would that normally cost? And generally we put in for them about, which is still a low ball, about $25 an hour. So if they're presenting for 2 hours, then you've got 50. So if you ever come across anything like that, you can certainly reach out to Mary and I, and we can tell you what we would typically put down as an in-kind contribution, right? Same thing with if the public health nurse gives you a boatload of brochures, then they're giving you printed materials, which is in kind, in that you put that in as well, right? Okay. So like I said, volunteers are important. So right now, what we put in is $16.30 an hour. Now that is the $16.30 an hour is for those that are organizing everything. Most times, if you're doing manual labor, you tend to use minimum wage. But for the most part, I just plunk $16.30 an hour. And I think I have it here to calculate. So if you calculate the hours it would take to oversee a project, okay? So your project is 1 meeting per month for 2 hours for 1 year times 5 volunteers. So 1 meeting a month, that's 2 hours, times 12, times 5, times your $16.30. You now have an in-kind contribution of your people who are overseeing your project as $1,956.
Wow.
Okay, so anything else that you need to do, so that's just your meeting. Now you're going to have volunteers who are going to actually do the event or do the session. Then if your session was 2 hours, well, they got to come in an hour beforehand to set things up, set up the table, set up your technology, welcome the people that are coming, make sure the tea and coffee or whatever snacks you're going to have. And if you have 2 or 3 people that are doing that, then you want to put that in. So a 2-hour event would actually be almost 4 hours because you have setup, presentation, then cleanup. So if you've got 3 volunteers that are doing that, that's 4 hours, okay? So they are staying for the event, but they will be there should there be any technical difficulties, if they have to hand out brochures or hand out information to make sure the tea and coffee is ready to go when there's a break, all of those things, it all adds up. Any questions on that? Okay. So who's going to participate? So now that we've got things sussed out on what kind of in-kind contributions we're going to have, we're going to lay out our plans. We now have calculated some of our in-kind stuff that we haven't even gotten to the dollar figure yet of what we're going to ask for. But these particular elements are really important because these are things that a lot of groups tend to forget. All the hard work that you guys do in order to make something happen. And you need to take pride in that and put a dollar figure on it. And any kind of in-kind that you get, you want to say, well, how much did that cost? Or how much, you know, what kind of dollar figure can we put on that in order to put that in our application? Because this all adds up to a really good plan that we have. Okay, so who's going to participate? We have to figure that out too. Sometimes if you build it, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to come. So, but we want to identify who's going to participate. So are they just seniors from your group or club? Are you going to invite seniors from your community and other communities? It's always a good opportunity to do some public outreach from time to time. It'll help you with your membership and visibility in your community about your club. Right? So you know, to do bits and pieces, it's a good opportunity to kind of pull some people together a little bit different, right? Are you inviting or involving other age groups? So again, intergenerational. You're going to have like an open house, invite the whole community. Some of it might not be possible with COVID, but these can be things over time that you could think about. And what about service providers? Listen, it wouldn't hurt, and you probably have already done it. Say, invite your local fire station chief to come and talk about safety during the holidays. Safe emergency preparedness, how important it is for what they need, what people need to do to stock up. Maybe you got a local library, and I would encourage you guys to really tap into your library because the library has tons of resources and are quite eager to talk about the many things that they offer to people in their communities. So you can certainly invite them to come in and talk about, you know, the library, that the library is more than books, that there's opportunities, that they would even help even offer their venue for presentations. Maybe you might reach out to your library and say, hey, can we do a little event there at the library? You can come and present and talk about your services and give us a tour and all that. Great opportunity. Same thing with maybe your local dental hygienist or your massage therapist or a local fisherman. Like, you can reach out to any community member to talk, or even if you have a local flower shop, to come in and talk about container gardening. Or some, you know, like there's endless possibilities on how you want to invite. And maybe you want to invite a bunch of service providers to talk about your club and to have just an open discussion on things that concern seniors regarding their health and well-being. Because, I mean, it's a learning opportunity for your service providers as well. I mean, mindful of the time. Okay. So also it's important to think about how many participants do you think you'll have in total and how many for each element. For example, if you have a number of sessions, how many per session? So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, well, we don't know how many people we have. You could think back on things that you've done in the past. So if you've, say, offered a dinner, how many people normally come to the dinner? If you've had information sessions before, how many people you think you've had, you know, look back and see how many people you have. It's nice to keep track of those things because it certainly helps inform you for future applications. You can certainly guess. I would underguess as opposed to overguess. That way, if you feel you have membership of 125 and you say, you know, usually it seems that roughly 50 people tend to be, it's fairly consistent that 50 people tend to participate on a regular basis, then you would put in 50. But if you feel that over the period of time you will involve and engage all 125, put in 125. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so how are you going to do it? So now that you have your ideas, you've got your plan, you're thinking about your partners, you think about all the things that, what can you, in terms of your volunteers and in-kind contributions, Now you're going to say, okay, well, this is part of your plan on, well, how are we going to do that? And this is basically your list of all your activities, okay? Here's your plan. Now you're going to list it out in terms of your action. These are your activities, or what a lot of funders will call outputs. What are you putting out there? What are you going to do? Right? How are you going to do your program or your project? Okay? So for example, you could set up your program committee by March 2019. Okay, you could, and after, you can offer a one information session per month. So you can go, we're going to do one in April, May, June, but we're going to have a break in July and August because people tend to do things when the weather's beautiful. And then we're going to ramp up again in September. So we're going to do a couple of things in September. Okay. And then of course, for each activity, you must list what you expect to happen. And that's your outcomes. If we're going to do this, this is going to happen. So if you say that you think that your program or project committee is comprised of 5 seniors and will oversee the program project to make sure the activities are being done, that is your output, that this is their job, is to ensure that all the activities are laid out and the schedule of plans for your sessions are listed and that are secured. Okay, so also, for example, a session, say in April, might be one on nutrition, and we'll get information on healthy foods and cooking for one, right? So this is the different things that you're going to do, and therefore this session we would expect that 25 seniors will participate and that they'll get information on being able to cook for one, and they will be listed, given a list of recipes that they can easily do and that are easily affordable. That's an example of an outcome. Any questions on that? So basically what you're going to do is your output, and what you expect to do, what you expect to get as a result of doing it. So we want to do a session on nutrition, and these are the things we're going to do. And as a result of us doing that session on nutrition, we're going to have 25 seniors that have participated and that will learn how to cook for one. We'll get a series of recipes. And even out of that session, something interesting happened. They all decided to set up a community kitchen where they pool their resources and cook a fabulous meal and deliver it to seniors who aren't able to get out. Sometimes you have unexpected outcomes, and that's always a joy for funders when you report back to them. So it's important to capture and keep all that information, because reporting back to your funders is very, very, very important. You want to celebrate the awesome work that you're doing. Okay, so now that you've got some activities and things that you think are going to happen, you do need to itemize what you need to do from the very first thing to the very last thing. So obviously it should include a timeline for your activity. Okay, so again, you don't need to write it down in paragraph form. Do it in point form. So your group is going to meet, your planning committee or your project committee is going to meet once a month, and they're going to meet this. Okay, so you need obviously meeting space. For the most part, just for meeting. You may need to photocopy agenda items, a list of do minutes up if you feel that you guys need to keep minutes, all of those different things. If you're going to itemize your various sessions, you want a list of the things that you do need in order to do your session. You need a speaker, you need technology, we need location. Is our space big enough? Then this is when you get to ask questions. Well, if we get 125 people, do we really have enough space? I don't know if it'll fit. So let's see if there's another community space that'll fit us. So this way you're heading off a few little glitches before it happens. So that way you're really setting yourself up for success on that. And right now for COVID, we do need to be very mindful of the provincial guidelines in terms of gatherings. So you may not be able to do a lot of, or have a lot of participants for a physical gathering, and you may decide to do something like we're doing, where you're doing something virtual. Any questions? Okay, so attach a cost to each activity, and this is your budget. So if you say, so again, going back to your project committee meetings, how much it's going to cost to do a session, cook a meal, from everything from the time of your volunteers, to the food that you need to cook, to the venue where you're cooking it, to the place where people are eating it at, to the photocopying of paper, everything that you've itemized to put a cost on it. Because when we start getting into the budget, then you can look at all your notes and start pulling things together. Any questions? Okay. Right. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So tip, again, reminder, set up your project program committee should be first. Okay. So that's really important. So bring a bunch of your members together. I'm sure there's been rumblings of different things that your clubs would like to do. Sit down, hash things out, look at the application. Look at what you've got itemized in your form here of some ideas. And of course, part of that too, and sometimes people tend to forget this, but you should include evaluation of your project. Okay, you want to know whether or not people really enjoyed and capture the things that people are saying about your project, about your outreach, about the food that you cooked, or the sessions that you've done. So even if you had a quick little sheet where you ask people to fill out, did you like the session? What did you like about the session? Would you come to another session? Did you learn anything? And then you can pile all those evaluations together, and it helps build, well, even your pride that for the most part, and you know, people will love what you're doing, but it's nice to be able then when you fill out your final report to your funder saying, look, we've surveyed everybody, evaluated what they thought of the project, of their sessions, and these are some of the quotes. I learned so much on how to protect myself from scams and frauds. Thank you so much for this opportunity to learn. It was great to be able to share a meal finally with some of my friends. Bingo was fantastic. It was so nice to be able to, even with COVID, to do things on a small scale, but I could still see my friends, and it was so nice. Like, those are the quality things I think funders really like. And it gives you an idea to show that this was a real successful project for you. It will also help, especially from people who participate, to say, would love for you to do a session on X. And then you can say, oh, that's a good idea. We'll think about that when we apply for more money for next year, right? So it'll help you respond to the needs of people in your community. So if you need any help with evaluation, Mary and I would certainly help you with that. We've got a lot of different evaluation forms here that we've used over time. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can send you that. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so let's look at our budget now. Okay, so you've had some things itemized. Okay. So let's look and see. So you obviously want to add up all your volunteer cost. Okay, so that's everything that you put a dollar figure on, from your planning committee, your project committee, to the people that are meeting to pull together all the sessions, to your volunteers that are putting the meal together, to the seniors that are arranging your sessions from setup to cleanup and in between. All of that you want to put that in just a grand total, okay? So you want to also now add up all your in-kind and cash donations from your partners. So let's just say your local grocery store is giving you $200 worth of food. Put $200 down, in-kind food from ABC grocery store. Okay, you in-kind from your speakers. So you want to put in your in-kind, which is roughly, we put in $25 an hour. So if they're speaking for 2 hours, that's a $50 in-kind contribution. Okay, and so anything, and if somebody gives you, I'm not sure how many of you are members of your Wellness Coalition, but they have a lot of promotional items that they can give out. So they could certainly, you know, tell you how much that would normally cost. So that's would be, you would add up everything there. So this really, these two big pieces are really important because these are contributions to your overall project. And your funder will see that, look at everything that they're bringing to the table. So they're asking us for X, but they're also contributing Y, okay? So now you want to add up your actual cost. So how much is it going to cost? So now, for example, let's just look at the capital costs, okay? So if you're looking at making, say, replacing furniture in your club, well, you're going to get quotes from everything, and then you just add that up. If perchance someone says, well, the fridge actually costs $500, but I'm going to give it to you for cost, just put in whatever quote they gave you is the quote that you need to put in. Usually for capital projects, unless they're actually going to say, we'll build the ramp for free, but it'll cost you to do the bathrooms. You could let your funder know that the contractor who's going to do your washroom is actually going to give to us for free their labor and materials to build a ramp, which is a nice thing to see. Any questions? Okay. So your actual costs, okay, should be the same amount or less than the amount you asked the funder for. So if you are going to say, let's use New Horizons where it's $25,000, you obviously can't ask for more than $25,000. Otherwise, you have to find more money for that. So depending on what you do, if it's over, after adding up all your actual costs, you either A, have to reduce those actual costs, which are dollars that you need to match what you're going to ask your funder. Okay, so these are just your actual costs, not your in-kind or your volunteer, okay? Sometimes you may ask for, and we're going to look at, if we have time, hopefully, and we do, it's 11:30, 2 funding opportunities that you can apply for, and they're small, they're $1,000. So these are a good start if you haven't applied for funding, but even if you have applied for funding, these little amounts really add up. So if you apply for 2 or 3 of them, you can certainly pull together a lot of funding in order for you to be able to do the things that you want to do. So a funder usually gives you a template to put your budget in. So see where your costs fit. Most oftentimes they'll have staffing time, which you won't have, but you can put in your and then volunteer time, the cost, capital costs, advertising. Sometimes they'll leave it blank and then you can put your items in. So if you divide it into volunteer time, food, transportation, promotion, if you have to print off flyers to put in the mailboxes of people, or to put posters up at the local grocery store or library, whatever those costs you think it's going to cost, you want to put a dollar figure on that and put that in the columns. So now the thing about most funders, especially with New Horizons, if you guys are familiar with New Horizons for seniors, as well as some programs with the provincial government, in particular their age-friendly community grant, their transportation grant, they are available, and in their application will say if you have any questions or you want to put your idea and discuss it, they're there to help. They're also there to help if you have any difficulty with how to categorize your costs and put in your in-kind and your volunteer contributions. So I would certainly highly recommend that you tap into that. That's what they're there for. And they've offered it, so please take advantage of it. And of course, we're always available if you need anything. But if the funder is offering an opportunity for you to reach out and ask, or if they're offering webinars or information sessions, take advantage of it. So one thing are there any questions? I think you pretty much have some bones there now and some foundations of some things that you can take that will pretty much fit into any funding application. And if you want to take some extra time and go through it again, Mary will email you the copy of the form that you can either print off or you can fill it out. If you open up in Word document, you can type in there if you like your answers. But you can certainly finesse it a bit and tidy it up a bit, and you can again use this about your project over and over and over again. So you can put in your ideas and fill out the things that you need to do. But it's a good opportunity for these worksheets to just put in things in point form. You don't have to be fancy in your narrative, because really funders get thousands of applications. The easier it is and the clearer and concise it is, the more they immediately get what you want to do, why you want to do it, why you want the money, and what you think your outcomes are going to be. They'll say, this is pretty solid. But if you start putting it in narrative and you're trying to explain it over and over again, it kind of gets lost. So I would always stick to point form. So one thing I do want to talk about, which is on the screen here now, is when you apply, you are expected to report back on what you've done with the money. Some funders will ask for receipts, others won't. But really and truly, the main thing is about accountability. They need to know that you did what you said you were going to do with their money. Okay? So that's why you want to kind of, in one way, a bit underestimate what you want in terms of how many people you're going to reach or how many sessions you're going to do, knowing that more than likely you're going to do more. But it's better to say, we achieved the 8 sessions and we were able to do 4 more. It was so popular and we had the time and we had the money to do it, we were able to do it. That sets you up for success and you're providing additional things. So it's really, really important that you keep your receipts, that you read and make sure that if that's what you need to keep, that you will end up having to submit your budget on what you spent and submit your receipts. And this is really important because if you go back to them to apply for funding, if they find that you haven't reported back and that you don't you don't keep and send in your receipts, you're unlikely to get another pot of funding, because it's very, very important that you take that responsibility seriously in terms of reporting. So if you have a delay, or because oftentimes they'll say, I know with New Horizons, except for COVID, this one here with COVID, it's usually a month after your project is completed that you need to submit your report, and they will give you a template. Most funders will give you a template on how to fill everything in. If not, then they'll just look for, you just submit, these are the sessions we did, these how many people came, these were some of the feedback that we got back, and here's some pictures. They all love pictures. Photograph everyone and everything. It's and people smiling and people waving, people having a grand time. Photograph your partners that are presenting. All of those different things are really favored and look really good on your report. Any questions? I'm going to mute you for a second because I have to get a little cough and drink water. I'm back. Okay. If there are no questions, we'll move on. So let's review some of the key pieces for success, okay? So part of your program and project should include, and we've gone through this, a clear plan. Do it in point form. You don't need to use fancy words. We're going to cook a meal. You don't have to say we're going to cook a 7-course meal that would include A, B, C, D. Bring together a few people to go through the 5 W's and the how of your plan. Give them the handout and say, let's get working. Let's fill it out. And of course, read and reread at least 3 times before submitting and including everything they ask for. One thing most funders will have included in not only the application form, but also a guide and guidelines on how to fill out the application. That's always very, very helpful. A lot of funders will say, please read the guidelines before you fill out the application. So it would be nice, even if you assign someone or 2 people to read the guidelines prior to your meeting, to make sure that what you want to do is fitting with what they're looking for and some of the things that need to be required in your application, so you don't forget anything, because that will help the success of you getting the funding. So let's look at some grant applications. Now I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'm going to share another. Let me find it now. Okay. This one is the Central Wellness Coalition. Most of you are probably in the central location. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar. Raise your hands if you're familiar with the wellness coalitions, your local wellness coalition. Elizabeth is? Okay, so the wellness coalitions are, oh goodness, have been around for some time. Membership is free, and being a member will allow you to apply for funding, which is a good thing. You're also on their email list, and they often send out notification of grant applications, of networking opportunities, of things that are available to you as a member that you can take advantage of. So I would highly recommend that you become a member of your wellness coalition. And all of the wellness coalitions, there's 2 in the Eastern region, and there's 1 in Central. There's 1 in Western, the Western Regional Wellness Coalition. There's a Labrador Grenfell Wellness Coalition, and of course the Central Wellness Coalitions. So you can, if you want the link, Mary can send the links to all the wellness coalitions. So you just click the one that you're in, become a member, and then you will have an opportunity to take advantage of all the wonderful things that they have to offer. All of the wellness coalitions do offer some funding from $1,000 to, in Central Wellness, it's $1,500. And they do have pretty standard calls for funding, so that you know that we can apply by January. They have 3 calls for applications, and if we miss the January one, we can apply for May. Okay, you can apply for the most part. You can apply as many times as you want. You can apply 3 times a year if you want. 1, if you're able to spend the money in that time allotted. B, that you report back. I think most of the coalitions do expect receipts, so it's important to really keep them. And that, you know, you're able to fit into their guidelines and the priorities of what they're looking for. So the Central Wellness Coalition here, you'll see that there wasn't a call in February, but they did have a call in September, okay? So it talks about the purpose of the community grants. You can, up here it says become a member free. You click that and fill that out. So you put your club in. So it says here, the funding must be used within a year of receiving the grant. To be eligible, you have to be a community group or a nonprofit group, a municipality school, so you're a community group. You're operating within the central region, and you are a member of the coalition, okay? Things that you do need to consider. So you have to, again, read that when you're going through. And they do say that applicants are encouraged to contact their local community development public health nurse for consultation when preparing your application. So they're offering that opportunity for you to reach out and say, hey, do you think this is a good idea? You know, there's a need here. Again, pitch it. Pitch it if you see it's a need. You've got it written down on your form there. This is why we need to do it, and we really feel that this is a great opportunity. And then they'll let you know. And if they feel that you might be lacking something, they'll say, sounds like a good idea, but maybe if you tweaked it and included something else, then you would, you know, certainly submit. And here in the central region, you'll see a list of who you need to call in order to have that conversation. They will also list what the applicants must do. And here's when they talk about priorities, okay? So always look to see if your idea is going to fit in one of the priorities, okay? You got healthy eating, you got mental wellness, and if your idea ticks more boxes, then tick all the boxes. I don't think it necessarily gives you an advantage saying, well, if we only pick 1, does that mean if someone picks 3 or 4 that they're going to get picked first? No, it's all about your plan. It's all about what you want to do. But if you feel that, you know, it's going to check healthy eating and mental wellness, and we are going to do some presentations on injury prevention, so we're going to check all those off because we are going to address some of those, okay? And here for you, Elizabeth, is a list of eligible expenses, but also what are ineligible, okay? So that's really important because you do want to make sure that you don't include that, okay? All right. And then what are the deadlines? So we've surpassed that, but the next one is February 1st. So if you guys want to be a member of the Wellness Coalition, you'll get notification, welcome. You'll start getting information, and you will get notification of when their call for applications come out, okay? But because you know now in advance, now you can start shaping some of the thing that you want to do, okay? So that's the Central Wellness Coalition. Don't worry about that. I'm going, you know, up and down really fast on this. Mary will send you the link to this, okay? Now I'm going to look at Newfoundland and Labrador's Senior Inclusion Grant. Okay, some of you are probably familiar with this as well. This was announced last year, actually, where the government allocated money. Lorraine, question? I can't hear you. You're muted. Okay. No, you're still muted. You're still muted. There
I
you go.
have to get out. I have to leave right now.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay, Lorraine. Thanks.
I've enjoyed all of it.
Good.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so the Seniors Inclusion Initiative, you can apply for $1,000 if you're unincorporated, or up to $2,000 for incorporated organizations. Now, so probably most senior clubs are not incorporated, but if you are, apply for the maximum. If you're not, then you can apply for 1,000. But listen, there's a way of maximizing this funding opportunity by perhaps reaching out to your municipality who's incorporated and say, hey, let's partner. Together we can do something for seniors in our community. And this is our plan. And you can pitch the idea to them and say, what do you think? And they'll say, that sounds a really good idea. You can say, well, once we itemized everything, I think it'll be a little bit more expensive. And we want to make sure that we, include a lot of people. So would you be interested in applying as well? The two of us will be partners. We'll partner together and maybe able to actually get $3,000 for your community. But it starts with the conversation with a partner that is incorporated. If not, just apply for the $1,000. You guys can make $1,000 go a long way. Okay? So here it talks about how much is available. And then this is information on incorporation, if you so desire to do that. But with incorporation comes responsibility. So you do have to do an annual return, et cetera, et cetera. So before you whip into doing that in order to get an extra 1,000, that has to be discussed amongst your group and your executive of your club. So again, eligible applicants must reside, be in good standing. That's if they're incorporated. And here is our applications and guidelines. So they are in a PDF document, and they also have a tutorial. So they will walk you through. I haven't watched it, but you can click the link should you want to do that. And just one second. All right, so you can certainly click that. Mary will send you the link to this. But if we were to click, say, the guidelines for the application, and if you feel, well, I can't print this off and I can't access it, you can call the department and ask them, could you mail out this application to me? Okay. So this is an ongoing application, so there's no deadline. So you can certainly put in an application whenever you're able to do that. But it'll tell you exactly what is available, that they have to be spent before the end of March 31st, 2021. And that these are your requirements, right, about the organizations, incorporated organizations. And that your organization must not have any outstanding reports or forms to be submitted from previous grant programs. So that's why it's important, accountability. If you've applied for funding from the government, you want to be able to report back in a timely fashion, and that you've spent the money according to your plan, so that there's nothing outstanding, because that just shows you are accountable and responsible. So therefore, that's very good points towards you continuing getting funding from the government. Okay. Also, they have a section on pandemic considerations, which is really good now. So if there's something that you'd like to do between now and March 31st, pay particular attention to the pandemic pieces, okay? And see how can we work within that allow us to do the things that we want to do. You might also say, you know what? I think what we need to do is purchase a bunch of masks, get some hand sanitizers, do a COVID sanitization package for seniors or for members of our club. This is what we're going to do, and information on how to wash your hands. We're going to do it all COVID related. That might be an idea. Totally up to you. Or we want to do food baskets, you know, some necessity food baskets, so they don't necessarily have to go out into the stores. So we could do that. We could cook meals, all of those different things, but please keep in mind government's restrictions and government guidelines regarding those kinds of things. Okay, so they have different activities here too that you might be thinking about, and here for COVID, it shows whether it's low risk, high risk, things to keep in mind if you want to do it, right? Your turkey teas, your takeout dinners, all of these different things are important, right? Again, bingo. And you know what? You don't have to think of something new to do. Maybe you want support of things that you've always done, but you need to start bringing and doing outreach again. So by all means, especially for the provincial government, they're not expecting you to do something new and innovative. They're looking for ways that you're reaching out to seniors in your community, that you're able to stay connected with them, or at least you're making the effort to ensure that they're connected, that you let them know that they're not alone, to reduce a bit of isolation so that seniors know that they can reach out because you're reaching out. Okay? Then it tells you what expenses are eligible. Again, you want to read this carefully. Obviously, capital expenditures are not available, fundraising contributions, and expenses incurred prior to submission of the application. So you cannot spend your money, or spend any money for your project until you get an official, you have been approved. Otherwise, if you submit stuff and you'll see that you spent something a week or 2 weeks before you found out, then that's not eligible. Okay, so wait to spend your money until you get official word. Then obviously any unused funds used for the purpose other than approved, you got to return the check. So I recommend you spend every penny. I'm sure you'll have no trouble spending every penny. And how are they assessed? Well, this is nice too, because it will tell them these are some of the guidelines that they're using as criteria to select who will get funding. So keep that in mind too. But again, keep things realistic. Don't say, oh gee, we have to show them they're going to reach 500 people. But is that realistic, right? Again, it's quality over quantity, and the value of that activity that will actually help reduce isolation, increase connection, bring people together, inform people, protect people. All of those things are really, really important too, okay? And again, funding history, but I would never stop applying for money, even when you're successful. Sometimes people say if you keep going back to the same funding pool, after a while, they'll want to look at people who've never received funding. Well, of course, they do give some people priority, but you might have a very stellar and excellent idea that they really want to fund. So my philosophy is if you don't ask, you don't get. And if you got the time to apply, and you got a great idea, and you got a good team around you who's fashioned this together, by all means apply. And they also talk about your reporting requirements. So of course, you get the money, you do your thing, then you got to report back. And here you have to send it in no later than 30 days after your event or all of your activities have concluded, as per your funding application. Okay, so that's really, really important. And of course, if you have any issues, they'll probably send you a reporting template after you've been approved. And they'll offer, if you need help filling in the final report form, please contact us and they'll work you through it. Okay? So that's pretty much it. does anyone have any questions? I hope it wasn't a lot of information.
Oh, rats. Hello?
Hello.
Sorry, my battery's getting low. The last one we were talking about, the seniors, senior inclusion grant,
Yes.
is that available now? Do they
Yes.
have particular dates? So
No,
just for the sake of argument, if we wanted to put together some, I don't know, some small Christmas food baskets or something for our, can we apply for that now? Would we get it in time for Christmas, do you think?
Yes, I'd say the turnaround's pretty quick because they're taking applications as they come in.
Okay, so there is no actual deadline as such.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Perfect.
Yeah, certainly put it in. That'd be great. Don't forget, like, I'm not sure if you had participated in our United Way community grants where there was $1,000. You could also include the cost of gas for your volunteers. Driving around is costly. So don't forget to include that kind of thing too. And again, do it in terms of your little worksheets here, all your volunteer time. All of that is really important to add too. So yeah, certainly put it in. I don't think, and I didn't see that you needed a letter of support. So, any other questions? Hi, Lorna, I know you that I'm not sure if you can unmute. I hope you were able to hear everything. If you have any questions, you can certainly email Mary, and we can certainly email everybody the answers if you have any questions or comments. Elaine?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, the Central Newfoundland Wellness Coalition, I guess that doesn't apply to us, so we're not in the area.
No, you're in Twillingate.
Clarenville area.
You're in the Clarenville area, so you would be in the Eastern Region Wellness Coalition. Mary's going to send out the links to everybody, and just click the link that you would belong.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And then click for membership. Membership is free. Yeah, okay. Which is beautiful because that gives you access to money.
Okay.
Yeah. Ivy?
Yes. The lady from Fogo just spoke about the social inclusion and funding for doing Christmas baskets or food things. Would that be, would the 50 plus members be included in that? As like, we're in a community where we just did the funding, where we did the baskets or bags for seniors, and we did all the seniors in our community. But like, we have over 80 seniors. Yeah. So I mean, a couple $1,000s is not going to do very much. Mm-hmm. But where our group hasn't been able to meet, since COVID, could we reach out to them and probably do a little gift basket for our members?
I certainly reach out. I don't see why not. Again, give them a good reason why. Why do you need to do this? Because we haven't been able to meet. Because a lot of our members live alone. This is their only form of social connection. That their family lives away. That we want to ensure that we can still connect with them, and ensure that their mental health, all of that. Again, it's providing that opportunity. I didn't see any restrictions about that. I know with the United Way one, it was about community.
Yes.
It was about reaching out to the community, to the community.
Yes, we did that.
Yes, and which was absolutely fantastic. You guys did a fantastic job. This one doesn't say that you need to,
because usually at Christmas time we would have a dinner, and we would, because we could fundraise, we would have gifts for our seniors that came. But I mean, now this year that we haven't been able to have any fundraisers or anything, we won't be able to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You can just pitch that idea saying because of COVID, we haven't been able to A, raise funds, B, do what we normally would plan, to have a special holiday session, event where everyone gets a prize, everybody's connected just before the holidays. And then this will actually set you up for, if you wanted to apply to your wellness coalition in the winter, for something else to help offset the costs that you weren't able to raise funds for.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
You can almost use that application from the inclusion grant into your wellness grant, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I've certainly enjoyed today's session. I've learned a lot.
Oh, good, good, excellent. Anything else?